It allowed Al-Qaeda to create networks and training that made it into this global enterprise. But now, I just told you that in 2001, Al-Qaeda was essentially destroyed. Now we see Al-Qaeda regenerated. We see Al-Qaeda present in countries where it wasn't really present before 9/11. We see it having sanctuaries in Somalia, in Mali, and for several years in the Sunni areas of Iraq, probably once again in Afghanistan, and certainly in the tribal areas of Pakistan. Deeply rooted in these countries. How has it been able to achieve this? In 1998, Abu Bakr Naji, one of Al-Qaeda's chief strategists, published his masterwork on the internet called The Management of Savagery. In there he outlines a bold and unconventional plan. Jihadists should strike at the industrial and tourist areas of African and Arab countries, he says. This will cause the government to concentrate its forces on the vital areas, leaving the periphery unprotected. And in those areas, Al-Qaeda can create chaos through the use of barbarous behavior. This is Al-Qaeda's strategy. When people are in terror, when they are living in a chaotic situation, they will turn to the strongest force for protection, even if it's the force that caused that chaos in the first place. Abu Musab al-Zarqawi, the late leader of Al-Qaeda in Iraq, took the management of savagery to a whole new level when he cut off the head of an American contractor and posted a video of it on the internet, and then began his campaign of bombing Shiite mosques while worshippers were at prayer, purposely trying to instigate an Islamic civil war. In 2005, Fuad Hussein, in his biography of Zarqawi, produced the most definitive outline of Al-Qaeda's master plan. It's fascinating to read this document now and see how, in some ways, events have hewed very closely to Al-Qaeda's forecasts, and in others, you can see where Al-Qaeda has failed to achieve its goals. According to Hussein, Al-Qaeda formulated a 20-year plan beginning on 9/11, a stage he calls the awakening. Hussein writes that by striking America, the head of the serpent, Al-Qaeda would cause the U.S. to lose consciousness and act chaotically against those who attacked it. This first stage ended in 2003 when American troops entered Baghdad. Now that American forces were drawn into the Middle East, the second eye-opening stage began. Iraq became a recruiting ground for young jihadis. This stage was to be concluded in 2006. You can see that Al-Qaeda, America is not the only entity bogged down in Iraq. Al-Qaeda is as well. In the third stage, rising and standing up, Al-Qaeda will focus on Syria, Turkey, and at long last, Israel. The fourth stage, lasting until 2013, will see Al-Qaeda overthrowing Arab governments. Attacks on the petroleum industry will weaken Western economies, and American power will continue to deteriorate in the constantly expanding universe of confrontation. In the fifth stage, an Islamic caliphate will be declared. The balance of power will finally tip in favor of the radical Islamists, and Israel will no longer be able to defend itself. The sixth phase, beginning in 2016, will be a period of total confrontation. The caliphate will form an Islamic army, inaugurating a final apocalyptic battle between the believers and the unbelievers. By 2020, definitive victory will be achieved. Now, what does victory mean here? Victory means falsehood will come to an end. The Islamic State will lead the human race once again to the shore of safety and the oasis of happiness. This is Al-Qaeda's script for the future, and it's given force by the longing of so many young Muslims to turn history around. The failure of the American project in Iraq or Afghanistan will certainly embolden Al-Qaida and radical Islamists everywhere. Failure offers the prospect of wider regional war, greater radicalization, ethnic cleansing, the immolation of oil facilities, America's standing in the world drastically reduced, the very chaos that Al-Qaida seeks to create. Now this August marked the 20th anniversary of Al-Qaeda's founding. That's a long time for a terror organization to exist. It's proved itself to be an adaptive, flexible, evolutionary organization that shows no sign of disappearing anytime soon. Still, the core of Al-Qaeda is much reduced from what it was before 9/11. Egyptian intelligence told me that they think Al-Qaeda core, the group bin Laden, Zawahiri, and their central command, is fewer than 200 people. The CIA told me it's between 300 to 500. Whichever you take, it's still a small body, far less than the thousands that were in Al-Qaeda before 9/11. And yet, Al-Qaeda has been able to form key alliances with the Taliban and with elements inside the Pakistani military and intelligence community. They've been able to franchise their brand with Al-Qaeda in Saudi Arabia, Al-Qaeda in Yemen, Al-Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb. These are formal organizations that have affiliated with Al-Qaeda. And by spreading the brand, it's been able to attract members of ethnic groups that were never a part of Al-Qaeda to start with. Now, most terror organizations end with the death of the charismatic leader and the closing of sanctuaries, or a change in the economic, political, and social climate that gave rise to the radicalism in the first place. Unfortunately, the leaders of Al-Qaeda continue to operate inside secure sanctuaries, and the socioeconomic conditions of the Muslim world show little sign of improving. But whatever happens in Iraq, Afghanistan, Al-Qaeda won't win. And I'm going to outline several reasons why this is so. First of all, everyone is its enemy. When American and coalition forces went into Afghanistan in December 2001, they came across an Al-Qaeda camp with and they found there a list of enemies. Well, who are Al-Qaeda's enemies? Number one, heretics, the Mubaraks of the world. Number two, Shiites. Number three, America. Number four, Israel. Well, that's a lot of enemies for one little terror group. Now, according to Abu Musab al-Suri, who Renyar would know more about than I, the list keeps expanding. That now includes Jews, Westerners in general, members of the NATO alliance, Russia, China, atheists, pagans, and hypocrites. I heard some hypocritical laughter there. The second reason, most victims of Al-Qaeda are Muslims. Look, 2 or 3 times as many Muslims in Iraq alone have died at the hands of Al-Qaeda. And look where the strikes of Al-Qaeda were after 9/11 in Istanbul, in Riyadh, in Algiers. These are Muslim countries. Muslims know that if Al-Qaeda ever comes to power, they will be the primary victims.